Virgo. Hey, what is going on? Welcome into the channel. So happy to have you here always. My name is Deborah, owner of Purusha Holistic Wellness, and this is another episode of Purusha Intuitive, where we're going to look at your energy for the next week or so via the tarot astrology, any channeled messages that come through. And I'll also incorporate Ayurvedic or holistic wellness practices, ways to live our daily routine so that we're really honoring our mind, our body, soul, and therefore operating out of our optimal functioning. So let's get into it. That's a big sell. It's a hard sell, right, Virgo? Well, and it is so important. Self-love, self-care is so important. And I know for me, myself, I've been in wellness my whole career, but really when I found Ayurveda, it was that missing piece that made a lot of sense because it's basically a guide map for our day-to-day living, how we can honor self in every moment, in every way. And definitely with Virgo energy, you represent the house of health and well-being. And so I think it is very important to know balance, know what is feeding us, what is providing that nourishment, that support, and also the things that deplete us, the things that we need to stay away from or not overindulge in because they end up bringing less benefit. It ends up draining our energy. And we are in a time, well, happy new moon in Cancer today. So the new moon in Cancer, it is bringing up a little bit of some rough energy. New moons are great for setting intention, for kind of doing that reevaluation that I was talking about and making changes or setting intention to make changes. However, a lot of the changes that are coming to the surface, coming to our realization is the changes that we can control, the changes that we need to make within self in order to better align with the things that we do want. And sometimes that can be a little bit of a humbling awareness that comes in when we think or want certain people, dynamics to be certain things for us and they just can't, or spirit is leading us in a better direction for self. We are moving through this process of kind of unlearning the attachments that we've made, the things that feel like safety nets but aren't, like I said, life honoring. And some of this stuff isn't bad and horrible. Some of this stuff is just blocking better, more things for you, right? Things that spirit does have in store for you. And so that is where self-care, self-love practices become so instrumental, because when we do take care of self, that's where we can hear our wants, our needs, making the highest and best decision for self. We can hear that way clearer than when there's a lot of chaos or noise, or we're just trying to keep up on the hamster wheel type vibe. That's why I like to start the readings off with an energy cleansing, just to set the tone, set the vibe for the reading, cleanse out those places you might feel blocked or limited. You can totally skip ahead as well if it's not your vibe. I put all the chapters down below and you'll totally receive the blessing. So it's also a great time to set your own intention for the reading, especially if you've come in with something on your heart or mind that you would like spirit to deliver messages to you around. Spirit's always looking to speak to us. Definitely give that over, be open to receive. I also do personal readings. I offer a variety of healing and wellness services, and readings are one of them. If you want me to look at your specific situation, how it's faring, where it's headed, or if you are interested in more of that realignment of self, your mind, body, soul, I do energy healing as well as Ayurvedic or holistic wellness consultations. Because when we are aligned in self, when we're grounded in self, that's really where we are tapping into our happiness, our fulfillment. We're able to manifest the desires of our heart, and you totally deserve that. I would love to help support you in whatever way possible. Definitely hit me up, Virgo. All the info to get into contact with me is in the description box below. I am working on my website. Hopefully that will be up and running soon, but until then, you can totally shoot me an email. All right, let's get into it. I bless you with pure love and light, pure source energy, pure loving grace. I release anything that is not for your highest and best. Any fears, doubts, insecurities, lack of worth, lack of value, pain, anger, frustration, impatience, overwhelm. Cleanse it and release it from our being so we may see and understand the messages clearly. Help to make me a clear and open channel for the collective. Thank you, Father God, Spirit Guides, Guardian Angels, Mama Love. All right, so Virgo, just as a heads up before I start, no, the energy has been a little bit intense, a little heavy for all the signs this week. So just making that disclaimer off the bat. I was picking up this energy, and this is partially why, so I apologize in advance. But, I was picking up this energy of just trying to get through something, or like maybe you do your best to just grin and bear it, or it does have a little bit of a begrudging energy, like you have to participate or be a part of something that you're not really wanting to be. I don't know if you have the freedom to specifically say no, because for whatever reason your energy's feeling a little bit like, ugh. I'm just like, it's like when someone pops up on your phone, or you got to go to a job you hate, or whatever it is, it just feels like, ugh, like resistance. And I think it does. We're getting this a lot in the collective readings as well, even in the astrology, the way that patternings are showing up in our life. And there's a lot in retrograde right now. Mercury, Pluto, Neptune, Saturn's also going into retrograde end of the month. So retrogrades force us to slow down. They force us to really reevaluate where those spaces are coming up in our life that we are feeling like it's, pulling teeth in order to make yourself do something, etc. Where that's actually coming from, right? Where the emotion is coming from. And it does feel like perhaps you keep finding yourself in these commitments that feel fleeting, or it does feel like there's the honeymoon period and then reality sets in, and that's where the emotions start popping up. So it is a little bit of a discovery this week of yourself, of how this is affecting you. Remember, this has been, we're in Cancer season, which is water energy, and it's been a very emotional time. Not because we can't control it, but it's like, it's emotional in the way that it's giving us insight into the reality of what things are. And the emotion's like, oh, this is what this is. Now it makes you feel a certain kind of way because it's a disconnect from what you had wanted or hoped. But at the same time, you're not really doing anything about it. And like I said, maybe it's because you can't do anything about it. Maybe your hands are tied right now. Maybe there's just certain things that you have to kind of just grin and bear. But then it also feels like perhaps there are things that you can readjust to bring a little bit more peace, balance, harmony into your life. And oftentimes when we're in those situations, right? Like, let's say it's your job, for instance, you're just not happy and you want another job. Instead of quitting because you don't like your job or you can't deal with it anymore, it's obviously smarter to find another job first. Or in the way that, like, maybe you can't quit your job, or maybe you're not getting any callbacks, sending out your resume, and maybe it does take 3 to 6 months to find something. So then we look at other areas of our life that we can adjust, that we can bring in a little bit more peace. So we have better strength and stability to kind of combat some of those more negative forces that are presenting themselves. What I would see for you is it's giving you insight into where, again, things might feel really like magical and whatever right off the bat, but the reality slowly settles in. So you're having that awareness, you're having that understanding. I think even on a deeper level this week, King of Swords is in your environment, Gemini, Libra, Aquarian energy, or just someone who is very analytical, very decisive. Ace of Wands, you're feeling inspired. You're feeling inspired towards a new energy. Okay, Nine of Cups is in the blocked. Interesting. Let's see what this is all about. Ooh. So you're trying to inspire yourself despite some of the disappointment. It doesn't look like you're letting things completely mow you over. Like the emotions aren't completely overwhelming or completely taking over. Yes, they feel like they're affecting you, and maybe in a big way. But what I mean by that is you're not letting it show on the surface. You might be hiding how much something is affecting you. And it might even just be whatever is you're dealing with might be taking more of a cold approach to something that you feel like you need more. I don't know if this person can give more. You're doing your best to show up in a way that shows signals, hey, I'm trying to work on this, or I'm trying to put in a good effort. but I think someone's kind of holding you at a distance, and it feels a little bit counterintuitive to how you are showing up for them, like, or in the dynamic, because you do look like, despite how you feel, despite some of the pain that is still in your heart from things of the past or whatever that might be, you're still putting a good foot forward. And I think someone sees that. I think they appreciate that, but I think they're also still protecting themselves. And it feels like maybe that's where the pattern is. Like, you can never overcome this speed bump, or it always kind of goes back into, especially if this is like a long-term relationship, it definitely has like a lot of patterning around it. If this is more just, a new situation, it might even be something where you can see that has happened to you in the past, but it might have been under different circumstances. That's how it's coming up, because it's like you start something, you're like, I'm putting in a good effort. You want it to be something really good. You feel really hopeful. You feel really inspired, but then it feels like there's a severe dip in energy and you have to go back to the drawing board. It's a reworking. Maybe someone is having a hard time meeting you with where you're at, or even understanding where you're at. With this new moon in Cancer, we want to feel accepted. We want to feel like safe and supported and comfortable. And when we're dealing with relationships or dynamics where that's not really happening, especially in your energy, Virgo, because that reassurance is very important for you, it can feel hurtful. It can feel really hurtful. And I don't know if this, to me, this Three of Swords for you this week is not only in your experiences of the past, but it's also how this patterning keeps showing up for you. It feels like a lot of back and forth. Like, there are good pieces here, but that good only lasts for so long until it gets emotional again, until it starts feeling difficult again. But it also looks like it's forcing you to have certain boundaries with someone or this situation. I'm going to clarify this. Maybe you've been a little bit too nice, too flexible. Okay. Someone doesn't want to get in too deep. It feels like that's what they feel like they're they feel like they're keeping themselves safe, or like that's what they're saving themselves from. I know that sounds really horrible. I don't mean it in a negative way, but someone's having a really hard time understanding like what their responsibilities are out of the dynamic. And it's taking them a long time to kind of get it together. But the way that they present themselves, like they might even like blame you, or, well, that's not my responsibility. Like, or why should I have to do that? Or it just kind of has this very, like, someone who's very picky and choosy about what they will do, about how they will contribute, and in a way that is, yes, serving them. And like I said, like maybe you hit these times where you're on the same page and it feels really good and it feels like everyone understands each other. But then, you move on a day or two and it's back to the same old stuff again. And this is basically talking about how whomever, whatever, this person's having a really hard time understanding how to make it good, or just coming around. There's resistance for some reason. And maybe the resistance is, or it happens when you give them what they want. Like, it's almost easier to keep them in this wanting energy, because then they're more willing to hold up their end of the responsibility. And I think, the whole week it looks like you're doing your best to do everything you can to show that you're trying to work in harmony with this. And I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to clarify. Maybe in their own world, they're doing what they need to do, but there's they're dragging their heels in a way, because they have other things going on. So they're not really going to give time and attention to like what you want, or what even they want. They have the Nine of Cups coming up for them twice. So I feel like it's almost like they're sabotaging their own self, but having a really hard time. And you might even be pointing that out in every way that you possibly can, and not even in a mean way. Because like I said, you're like showing up in a way that's like, come on, let's do this. Let's go. Like, I'm here, I'm available, blah, blah, blah. Like giving them what they want. And then it's just not landing. It's not landing with them. and they might be trapped in their own world. Like I said, this is a really, this is a very sensitive time, Cancer season. Everyone's feeling the feels, especially with Mercury in Cancer, Mercury in retrograde. It makes communication very emotional. Okay. The Lovers, interesting. Let me see. I got to clarify this Judgment then. We have the Ace of Swords, the Four of Swords, and the Lovers. Is it really what you want? You start questioning it. You start questioning the relationship. I think it's harder for someone to realize that too. Like maybe they are the one who's been in control, or they're used to having the control. And it feels like you start questioning. You're like taking your power back in the way that you start to really evaluate, is it worth it, right? Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? If someone can't, like someone's really struggling to get where you're coming from, you know, and I don't know the ins and outs, whether you're having honest conversations. It just looks like it's really hard to get out of certain patterns, certain habits in this dynamic. And specifically because you feel like someone's not hearing you or understanding you or getting what your wants and needs are. And the broom is when we cleanse. Essentially, it is like this energy of cleansing, of purification. And you know you have to do it because, I don't know. I feel like you're struggling with how someone's challenging you present day. It feels a little unfair is what I'm seeing. It feels unfair because you feel like, again, you're doing your best to like show that you're willing, and it's not how it's being received. And you can only go so far in this energy. And so it does definitely push you to this place of like, do I even want this anymore? And I think that's a little bit hard for someone to stomach. I think it looks very much like, or maybe you're just both are in a questioning time, right? Like, especially if this is long-term or a romantic relationship, maybe you're just questioning where your relationship is at, whether or not you even want to continue forward. It could be a business partner. It could be a friend, right? You're like not seeing eye to eye, and it seems like it is a repetitive cycle. It does look like things could be salvaged, but it also looks like there's a struggle for either one or both parties to do that. And that's part of this soul connection. Soul connections are those connections that we make with individuals that usually are in our life for longer periods or teach us bigger lessons, and specifically as it relates to our growth and evolution. Remember, matching vibrations is a thing. What we put out, we give back or get back. You know, but like literally, I love that saying, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. If you're going to be like screaming and yelling and saying nasty things to someone, that's going to get a certain response. Whether like, hey, I really value your opinion. How can we discuss this and find a way that works for both of us, right? There's different ways to communicate to get the end result for everyone. We have to understand in relationships there are compromise, but if it is in the approach, it is in the how we're responding, how we're interacting. And as much as like you are showing up with good positive intention, there is this underlying hurt and pain that maybe you're not even aware of, that maybe it comes out in communication. And so we have to look at all those pieces to understand. And then obviously if someone's blatantly refusing, then it does bring into question, is this really worth it? Do I deserve this? If someone cannot bend or be flexible or understand your point of view, etc., then that does have to be evaluated. Do you really want to be in a dynamic where that's you know, that you don't necessarily get your wants and needs validated? That's a tough cookie. That's a tough cookie. Embrace the change. So things are changing, you know, whatever that means. I'm not here foreshadowing an ending. Everyone's situation is going to be different. These are collective readings. Just take what resonates. I hate the fear mongering. It's not fun, right, for anyone. And like I said, this dynamic can be salvaged. It just needs to come out of this pattern long enough to re-regulate itself. And that is going to take intention on both sides. Yes, it does look like someone's moving a little slower than what you would want, but then you also have to be the example. You also have to just be the bigger person and lead by example, because it's not an unwillingness. It's just, it is a little bit of some ignorance. So that's kind of that's the rub. And, you know, I'm not trying to give them a hall pass. It's ignorance that blind ignorance they choose, you know, but you are the person who's there to help and support and to show them. And it might take a minute, but there definitely is opportunity here. So Godspeed this week, Virgo. I'm so sorry. I hope it wasn't too heavy. I hope you found messages that resonated with you or for you here. Things that can actually help and support whatever you are navigating through. I super appreciate you. Definitely connect. I love to hear how things resonate or just share a little love, a little TLC. I so appreciate all the love, all the support to the channel. Know that it blesses my heart always. And I am sending love and blessings back your way.